Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We're starting a little bit early today. Hope you guys had a great weekend. There's a couple things I wanted to talk to you guys about before we get into 9/23. So welcome back. I took a couple days off over the weekend. Normally I try to upload something on the weekends, but I really needed a break, you guys. We've been going 24/7 for probably a couple years now. I don't think we've really let up. So why did I come on early today? Well, there's been a huge upheaval over the weekend for hunting and fishing channels on YouTube. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that and how that affects our community as well. And it's weird because we were just talking about hunting, a particular hunting channel last week, weren't we? Remember we talked about the channel Deer Meat for Dinner? And remember I was upset that they weren't really standing up for the rights of the individual to harvest food from nature. And I was saying how that it was a responsibility of a channel that size to at least say something about the unfairness and the over-policing of individual people harvesting just bits of food from nature. I'm not talking about people with nets taking hundreds and hundreds of fish. I'm talking about a person with a fishing pole walking down to a bank or getting on a boat to catch some fish for dinner. That's what I'm talking about here. And for some reason, the authorities of hunting and fishing apply the same rules to a commercial fisherman in terms of, the amount of policing and all that and limits and rules. They apply the same thing to individuals who want to harvest from nature. And we were talking about how really channels of that size should really be challenging some of these unfair laws and some of this over policing, because it's become a trend now for this police arm of hunting and fishing to basically over police this stuff and basically come down on people who are just harvesting natural resources. And in my eyes, this rarely has anything to do with preservation when it comes down to an individual taking food for the day. Now, our critical mind realizes this when you see a person with a Glock and a bulletproof vest in a $60,000 vehicle coming up along the bank when there's no one else around and writing huge fines for pulling a fish out of a river. Your critical mind tells you there's something very wrong with that, but we've allowed it to happen. And so that's what's been going on. So what are we talking about here? Well, here's what's going on with hunting and fishing channels. So here's how it went. First, YouTube pulled ads from anything on these channels that were showing, the red stuff that comes out of an animal. Can't say that word either. And then shortly after that, there was a trend where they started pulling ads for cleaning and processing an animal altogether. And then by the end of it, they weren't even really allowed to show the taking of any animal without the ads being pulled. Now, it's to the point now where a lot of these channels, they've been reduced down to only showing the stalking of the animal and dinner on the plate. So what happens when YouTube pulls ads for a video? Well, why does it even matter, right? Well, I'm going to explain to you behind the scenes what's going on in YouTube world. Now, very few content creators will sit and explain this to you, okay? Because it's kind of hard to explain. And for a lot of people, they don't even really know what I'm about to share with you. Because most people would think, well, wow, shouldn't it be okay for a channel to have as many videos as they want on YouTube server that don't have ads? Well, that's what YouTube led everybody to believe in the beginning, right? That being on YouTube isn't about, ad revenue and ads, right? That it was no big deal that some videos, or no videos at all for that matter, didn't have ads. Well, it turns out that YouTube was giving content creators a false sense of security. And I've tried to explain this over the years as we began to figure out these algorithms and how YouTube works. We lost a couple channels along the way trying to figure all this out. And we were trying to figure out why so many channels were getting their ads pulled and terminated altogether. And here, to the best of my knowledge, here's what I can tell you is probably going on with YouTube and their business model. They probably at some point decided if they could be making more money on channel A, where all their videos had ads, why allow channel B to stay on the platform, who they only make money on half or none of their videos? See, the way YouTube works is views are precious, and YouTube does not like it when there's a lot of watch time being spent that doesn't make them money. So the larger your channel gets and the less videos that you have that have ads on them, that becomes a huge draw away from the YouTube pool of views, watch time, that is not making YouTube money. Here's the worst case scenario. A mega channel with no ads on the entire channel. That's sure to be taken down. Lots of hours being watched, and YouTube makes literally no money. Now, you can argue the ethics of this in terms of anything that helps YouTube get richer. Nobody in our community wants YouTube to get richer, don't we? But at the end of the day, every time most Americans get a raise in your secular job, who gets richer? The government on your taxes. And what does that do? It funds wars and funds all kinds of evil. So the way I look at it is, at least here on YouTube, yes, you pay YouTube to stay on YouTube, but at least you have a voice to continue to expose the corruption and evil. And that's not a luxury you get at a secular job. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just giving you the justification for why we are here on YouTube and we stay here. You know, they have servers to run. Yes, they're running a business. They've got servers. They've got costs associated with what they do. They got to pay, you know, they pay all these people to monitor us. Okay, so for us to say that they shouldn't make any money is just unrealistic, because then there wouldn't be a YouTube, right? So there's this spectrum. Okay, now we know they're making a ton of money. So there's a spectrum there, isn't there? Now, we're still allowed to critique the mainstream media, and we're still allowed to have an alternative voice. So for me, that feels worth it. And now you're starting to see how the whole divide and conquer operation in the truth community happened here on YouTube, and why it was pushed and encouraged. Here's how it went down. The government sends in trolls to start channels whose sole purpose is to accuse every single channel they can who has ads on it of being a shill, right? We've gone through this, right? He can't be telling the truth because he's got ads on his videos, right? You've all heard it. Then, when new channels pop up, or channels that are trying to be legit, they think that they have to pull all their ads off, or they think that they have to make videos that don't have any ads on them. That somehow that makes them a legitimate true channel. Well, what happens is they've just dug their own grave, because the channel is immediately slated for termination on YouTube. That's just how it works. That's their business model, as I explained to you. And that's exactly what their purpose was. That's why the government created these channels, to shame any channel that made any money on YouTube. Now, it happened to us twice. We lost 2 channels, got them back. One, it took an entire year. And I began thinking, I'm like, how did this happen? How did we lose this channel? We tried to be careful. We didn't have strikes. Well, most of the videos on those channels, they had pulled the ads off of. What does that do? It attracts the algorithms. And once again, YouTube does not like watch time where they are not making money. So now you know why there's ads on my videos, and why the only way that a channel can be free to keep speaking out is if we continue to have ads on the videos. Now you know why we have to be careful of how we speak to make sure the videos pass through the algorithms so we can continue to have a voice. Now, I don't leave videos on YouTube server that have not been approved for monetization. I just don't, because as soon as those start to stack up on their server, even if they're unlisted or marked private, that triggers the algos. Now, those videos that I pull down, they're all backed up on Odysee. So it's not like you're not getting the videos. They're all on Odysee. Now, for a channel my size, what YouTube gives back in ads, it's not much. It's not even close to what I made in my secular career. And I spent a lot more hours doing this than I did in any secular job. So this isn't about money. It's about maintaining a voice of freedom on a platform that can reach the most people. And I'll gladly take a pay cut so that I can wake people up every day and have a purpose in life and be doing the Lord's work in challenging the enemy and waking people up to come to his son, Jesus. Now, understand that nothing is foolproof, but at least I'd have a strong legal case, or I could appeal it if our channel ever did go down again. And of course, we have backup channels too. So back to hunting. How does this tie into hunting? Well, over the weekend, several large hunting channels with millions of subscribers got their entire channel kicked out of YouTube's partner program, which basically puts ads on their videos. So basically, YouTube is waging that word on hunting and fishing on its platform. Soon it will be gone. Now, for some of the mega channels, they could survive on sponsors, I suppose. But here's the thing. And this is the big white elephant in the room. Why wouldn't sponsors that are already on these hunting and fishing channels, why isn't that ad friendly? Of course it's ad friendly. That's the demographic. And here's the problem. Why isn't there another platform that these people can go to? Because look at hunting and fishing as a microcosm of the truth community. Eventually, this is going to happen to all of us. It kind of already has, right? There are very few channels out there that are still up and running at full steam. A lot of channels, true channels, are siphoning off the content. They're having people go other places. They're just using their channels to get traffic to other places, which YouTube will do away with that soon as well. And there won't be a truth community anymore. On YouTube anyway. And then what they'll do is, since Google owns everything and owns all the search algorithms, when you do a simple search in Google, you won't be able to find any of those other platforms. But why wouldn't some of these sponsors for hunting, survival, camping, solar, there's endless amount of advertisers that you think would come into communities like hunting and fishing, or even the truth community. We even have a certain demographic. Why won't they go to other platforms and create a duplicate of YouTube? Why has no other platform like YouTube been created for those of us that want freedom of speech, freedom of living off the land? Well, as you can probably already surmise, there's something huge standing in the way. There's a reason why YouTube is the only show in town. And it's not because there isn't demand for a freer platform. So, no other platform has been able to duplicate YouTube's business model, have they? Either they're crypto-based, which, look at what happened to Odysee. For those of you that don't know, a lot of true channels and other independent people jumped onto Odysee. Well, as soon as they did, what happened? The feds sued Odysee, and your library credits went to almost a value of 0. And because basically they stopped trading. So in other words, you can't trade these library credits easily anyways in the United States anymore, which made it worthless basically. Now, how did the feds do this? Well, they said that library crypto was an unregulated security. And that's the trap. It's basically another way to defund channels, give you a false sense of security, make you go off of this platform, give up your footprint, and then go somewhere else thinking that you can at least support yourself. Nobody is getting rich in the truth community. Nobody. Except for like the Jones type. But basically that's what this whole thing is. It's a giant honey trap. They're secretly, covertly rounding up freedom channels for extinction. And nobody in tech is coming to our rescue. Now, the T-Man could have done something about this. And had he done this one thing, it would have, in my eyes, given him some legitimacy. It would have also ensured his own landslide victory. So why wouldn't he want to do this at least for himself? You know, many people remember that they gave Bo Mama he credited the internet with his win, right? He was one of the first presidents to go on Facebook and advertise, and he believes that's why he won, because he got a lot of the younger votes. Now, I don't believe in the votes. I think they're all fake. But the point I'm trying to make here is, weren't a lot of people also involved online with the T-Man? And it's weird. He kind of downplayed that, didn't he? I think there's a reason why he downplayed that. But a lot of the support that he got came from the online community, right? But he never fully acknowledged it, did he? Now, of course, he went haywire on Twitter, and he was on there every day. So I guess in that way, he kind of did acknowledge it. But what could he have done that would have ensured his victory? Well, he could have created a duplicate video hosting platform or a Twitter-like platform where people could speak freely. He could have got it done for a few $1 million, and every single right-leaning advertiser in America would have signed up to put ads on videos and would have come to these platforms. And we all know it. It would have immediately pulled away half of YouTube's business overnight. So the question is, why didn't he do it? It's because he was never on our side to begin with. It's all smoke and mirrors. Now look, some of these YouTube hunting channels, they got super big. They were spending money on their channels like drunken sailors, right? And I'm not hating on them. I would never want that much money. I wouldn't want to have all that responsibility in my life. But some of these guys who had only been on YouTube 5 or 6 years, who got super huge, super fast, they started buying $200,000 boats. They were building custom luxurious homes that at least were in the 500,000s or maybe even close to $1 million. They were buying hundreds of acres of land. And what happens when you do that is it comes back to bite you. At this time in history, if you were ever to come upon some large sum of money, best thing to do would be to start planning for the future, not to showboat and pretend like you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. In my eyes, it's about having basic assets that don't cost much, low cost assets, low tax base assets, things that are paid off, things that you can actually use. You know, tens of thousands of dollars a year in property taxes is not sustainable. Because if you hit hard times, you're not going to be able to maintain a tax base. Unless, of course, that asset is returning money somehow. But how do you get hundreds of acres to return money? I don't know how all that works. I guess there's people that do grazing and all that, and I don't know exactly how that works. But sitting on a lot of land and lots of assets of things that you're paying taxes on, it simply doesn't make a lot of sense in this day and age. This is crazy. Some of these hunting channels were making 6 figures a month. That's over $100,000 a month on YouTube, because every one of their videos they put up hit like 1 million views. Now, again, I'm not hating on these channels. This isn't about greed. It's about freedom. It's about what YouTube is doing to these channels. And it becomes a microcosm for what's to come for any agenda that they don't agree with. A day is coming, you guys, when nothing will be able to be taken from nature, where we will all be forced to buy, sell, or harvest only what they allow, and none of it will come out of any natural setting. This is about fairness. It's about an agenda being pushed down on us. I mean, think about what YouTube did. They basically gave up millions of dollars in revenue from these channels for an agenda. What was that agenda? They basically wanted to end the videotaping of one of the most natural God-given rights we have, which is to feed ourselves organically from nature. And of course, that's a direct challenge to God. Now, some of you aren't into hunting, and look, I understand that. Not everybody's a hunter, but understand that even if you were out there picking berries and looking at natural fruits and vegetables, eventually YouTube would come for you as well. Why? Because once again, this is about natural harvest of things from nature. They don't want it. So if you think, oh, go ahead and let the hunters fall, well, they're coming for you next. That's the agenda. And they're willing to turn their back on millions of dollars, possibly even $1 billion. I don't know how big YouTube is in terms of profit, but understand that fully probably 10 to 15% of the people that come onto YouTube do watch hunting and fishing channels. Now, what's YouTube's argument here? Well, they're claiming that the advertisers were offended by the content, right? So you mean advertisers are not offended by some of these music videos that are on YouTube? Or the way that some of these mainstream news outlets lie about current events? You mean advertisers are all okay with that? Or if we're in some kind of world conflict, you mean to tell me that some advertisers are all for whatever the political agenda is? Of course they're not. And why doesn't YouTube just recategorize the advertisers to only show certain types of ads on certain channel content? All they'd have to do is set your channel up as a hunting channel, and only certain ads would play on those hunting channels. So it would be like survival, hunting, fishing, camping. You could even throw RV life in there or whatever. It'd be simple. It's all they'd need to do. It's called demographics. Very simple to do. Instead, they just paint the channel with a broad brush. They deem the channel unadvertiser friendly. And that's how it works. So every day is a blessing here. We're trying to be careful. Now, before we get into today's show, I was looking up words that get flagged on YouTube, right? And I found this gaming channel. This is a gaming channel, you guys. And he came up with this list. I don't know how he came up with the list, but he came up with this list of all the words that get flagged on YouTube, either in a title or in the actual the voice where they collect your voice. This is crazy, you guys. Unbelievable. Now I'm scrolling through here. I'm going to go all the way to the top because you need to see what's at the top here. Look at the numbers that are on here. A number that we discovered. That number, 8 to the 8. Also, the 9 and to the 11. What? You can't even talk about the triple numbers of the 6. All of these get it flagged. Now, why would they do that? Well, there's multiple reasons. Egg Stain is listed. Blind 11 is listed. Bojiven's son, Hunter, is listed on here, and on and on and on. Now, of course, I can't let the screen get scanned, so I got to move off of this screen here. But I'll link that for you guys. You can see the challenges that we have to go through to be careful and to try to maintain a voice. It's very stressful. Now, these hunting channels are freaking out. Many of them, well, and a lot of them are probably living beyond their means. Like I said, if I ever got to a space where, that happened to me, I would plan for the future. I would have everything paid off, very low tax base. My taxes would be $500 a year, and I would have something where I could keep talking to you guys regardless of what kind of footprint I had. But these guys went ballistics, and I think that they got into the show. They got into showing off their toys. They got into hanging out with celebrities. They got into wanting to be the next, what's the guy? The next swamp people or something. I don't know what they were thinking they were going to be, but it got overboard and overhanded. And so now they're going to probably pay for it. Because how are you going to maintain all that stuff when YouTube takes away 3/4 of your income? You're not. You're going to have to start selling stuff. And I pray for those people, and I pray that their lesson is learned. Okay? That you would have been better off standing up for the unfairness in the world instead of believing that we live in this fair world and saluting jets as they fly over and looking kindly on past presidents who took a bunch of people out in other countries. You can't see, God's going to come back at you with that if you're not seeing the world the way it really is. And he thinks things are all peachy and great when they're actually not. And that America's this great country that is fair in the world, and we're not, you see. So, enough of that. I just wanted to give you guys an update of what's going on with that. Now, let's get into 923 and what this is all about. So, in a couple days, of course, it will be 923, September 23rd. Now, this is an infamous date in YouTube's history, when it was first discovered to be a date that repeated in films like Labyrinth. Remember, he says in 923, "You will be mine." It was also in the film Castaway on a driver's license. It was in Time Machine as one of the dates in the Time Machine, as well as Tomorrowland. But what does this 923 date mean? Well, for one, 923 backwards is 329, which just happens to be a certain number of the day of the year. And I just showed you in the list of things we can't talk about anymore, an 8 and an 8, that day of the year. Now, what else is interesting is that 923 has 99 days left in the year. So we've got some synchronicities here, don't we? Now, another important thing about 923 is that it's important to the solar cycle. Why? Because twice a year, day and night are equal. The length of the day and the length of the night. This happens on March 21st. It also happens on the 23rd of September. So from March 22nd, which of course is 322, the days start getting longer and the nights are shorter. On the 21st of March and the 23rd of September, the Earth's equator falls exactly opposite to the sun, or so we're told, making day and night equal. After this, winter begins. The days are short while the nights are long. So from March 21st onwards, the heat begins to rise. The days become longer, the nights become shorter. So, it appears to me that 923 appears to be some kind of coded date. And in fact, a very strange album came out 38 years ago on 923 in 1983. So we have a 3883 bizarre mirror, don't we? The song is called 99 Love Balloons, which was renamed 99 Red Balloons in the English language. But look at this. Released on 9/23/1983. It is track number 6 on the Nina album. It appears as though the album was hinting at the 923 code, right? Now here's where things start to get weird, because the lyrics to the song 99 Love Balloons, which is the original name, of course, it's about UFOs and Captain Kirk. Now, remember, it was Captain Kirk and Star Trek that coined the term warp speed, which was the title given to the rush to market of the potion that was newly tested on humans. Let's read this wiki article on the origins of the concept of 99 red balloons. Then we're going to pop over to the lyrics and see Captain Kirk in the lyrics. I'll make sure we're with you guys before we keep going on with this. It says, while at a June 1982 concert by the Rolling Stones, Nina's guitarist noticed that balloons were being released. As he watched them move toward the horizon, he noticed them shifting and changing shape, where they looked like strange spacecraft, referred to in the German lyrics as a UFO. He thought about what might happen if they floated up over the Berlin Wall into the Soviet sector. Also cited by the band was a newspaper article from the Las Vegas Review-Journal about 5 local high school students in 1973 who played a prank to simulate a UFO by launching 99 aluminized mylar balloons attached with ribbon to a traffic flare. Now we all know what the ribbon is. That's mentioned in Revelation 6:2. It's toxone. Now you're getting the first glimpses as to what the true meaning of 99 red balloons is, which is spamdemic and plague. The ribbon is the toxone carried by the white horse with a crown, mentioned in Revelation 6:2. Let's keep reading here. The red flame from the flare, reflected by the balloons, gave the appearance of a large, pulsating red object floating over Red Rock Canyon outside Las Vegas, Nevada. So these are the roots of the concept behind 99 Luft balloons. Now, Luft means air in German, we have to say. Can't say even the country. I think that's listed on the forbidden words that we can't say. So, here we go. Now you guys are starting to see this picture emerge. The connection between the red balloons and the current spam demic. Now let's look at the lyrics here. Here it is. Here's Captain Kirk mentioned. Of course, that's the link to warp speed. And we're getting another connection to what's going on right now. Again, the rush to market of the potion. Now, in fact, red balloons have long been associated with Sharona. It's well established. Look at these creepy images. Here's a boy holding a Sharona. And all he is a shadow of a boy. This is from Shutterstock. Someone created this image. Obviously, understanding the connection between this. It's called A Boy Holds a Red Balloon with a Sharona. Symbol of the impossibility of a holiday parade or party. That's creepy. Here's another meme. Red balloons. And there's one here shaped like a Sharona as well. Almost reminds me of Shrek, doesn't it? Which of course showed up in the film I Am Legend. I think that's what it was really about, which caused the apocalypse. This one says, Sharona-shaped balloon among a group of red balloons in orange background. What else? So I'm showing you that this has been established. That this isn't just some meme that we came up with and tried to develop. This is an established meme. Now, of course, all this came out after the Sharona, but interesting nonetheless, right? Here's a 3D illustration of red balloon, the molecules of that word, which was interesting to me. I know a lot of you have been talking about this. Graphene, the idea of nanotechnology, and they actually mention biologics. Unbelievable. And look at this. They call it a red balloon. Weird, right? What else do we have here? Now, if you're still not convinced about this, Understand that the spoke protein, I'm saying that in code, has 99 positively charged amino acids and 111 negatively charged amino acids. So right here, basically the very makeup of the spoke protein has 99 red balloons in it. Let me read this. Let me look at this study and let me show you the title of this. This is called Charged Amino Acids May Promote Sharona Fusion with the Host Cell. And what it says here is, although the total structural charge of the SARS-CoV-2 is positive, the structural proteins are carrying varied total electric charge related to the amino acid content. The envelope, membrane, and nucleocapsid proteins are positive, and the surface spoke protein S is negative. The viral spoke protein is an essential component in the process of SARS entering the cell. It contains 99 positively and 111 negatively charged amino acids. So if you are in doubt, now you have complete and total confirmation. Now, we were talking about these 99 red balloons long before anybody knew what a Sharona spamdemic was. 2017, we discovered the meme. We knew something was coming. It appears as though everybody knew, didn't it? Everybody but us. Look at this pre-spamdemic 2019 red balloon release for AIDS Day in Brazil. This is just before the spamdemic in 2019, and yet here you see this huge release of all these red balloons to recognize AIDS Day. Now, let's play a little bit of this. You guys can see this. There's the release. Look at that. Do you think they were signaling something? 2 years later, they would tie these very same red balloons to crosses on beaches. Look at this. And this was for all the people that passed. Are you starting to see the connection now between AIDS and the Sharona? There it is. You can't make this up. Now, what is 9 times 11? It's 99, isn't it? So this is 19 years after 9 times 11, and here we are with 99 red balloons, aren't we? So, okay, good. We're still up and running. Now, let's keep going with this because there's another meme that emerged in about 2017, and it also hinted at a future spamdemic. What was it? It was Pennywise the Clown. Let me go back to this here. Pennywise the Clown. Now, how did Pennywise the Clown fit into all this? Well, remember he rode on red helium balloons, and we surmise this was the gas of the deceased victims, remember? And he would say, "You'll float too." Because remember, helium is mined with methane, which is a gas of death, basically. And then all of a sudden we started seeing red balloons tied to sewer grates in Australia. And this was during their worst flu season on record. This was in 2017. And then we started seeing these red balloons being tied on mailboxes all around the world. About this time, the It movie released, Stephen King's Pennywise It movie. And so it apparently was about the spamdemic that was being planned. Now, what is it? Well, it's a genderless pronoun, isn't it? And here, in Stephen King's own words, he says that the It Clown is also genderless. It was a female spider, but also a male as when it manifests as a clown, which I believe will probably be the end result once humanity has all taken it. Bible says Had he not cut those days short, there would be no flesh left. Well, how is that going to happen? Is it going to happen because people stop having children? That may be part of it. Now, there are more odd connections between the red balloons and the spamdemic. Remember Nina, the author of 99 Red Balloons? Well, she's supposedly been speaking out against the mandatory potions, and she got cancel cultured for it. This is August 19th, 2021. 99 Red Balloons and one big problem. Singer Nina's concerts canceled after her comments. Now, you have to wonder, is she just distancing herself from the meme before it's fully exposed? I don't know. And what about this UFO component? Are they going to try to show us something in the sky that everyone's going to think is a UFO? Is it going to look like 99 Red Balloons? I guess we'll all have to see, won't we? But understand, when artists do this, these occult artists, it's not always because they're on our side. Sometimes they have to distance themselves, kind of like how the T-Man did. He started distancing himself, and he kicked the stain out of Mar-a-Lago, didn't he? And people they always tell me, well, look, he was not friends with them anymore. That means he's legit. No, that doesn't always mean that. It means you're starting to distance yourself. Maybe he got tapped for the presidency back then. And they're like, dude, you got to distance yourself now. It doesn't mean someone's good just because they drop friends and stuff. And maybe that's what Nina is doing here as well. Maybe something's coming, and this 99 Red Balloons is going to become ultra clear, and maybe she's trying to distance herself before it happens. Now, there's one more or a couple more bizarre connections between the Red Balloons and a particular X-Files episode. Now, this is intriguing. Let's make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see this. Now, what is this about? Well, this is an X-Files episode in a connection to Red Balloons. The episode was all about, once again, UFOs and aliens. And in the episode, they were covertly marking people who got the smallpox potion. They were covertly marking them through the potion, the Vaca Nation. Now, this is from the book called The Real Science Behind the X-Files, Microbes, Meteorites, and Mutants. This was published, let's see, it was published on 10/9/2001, 10/9, October 9th, which of course is a 19. Let's read this, because this is crazy. Chris Carter and I had several long discussions about the science in this episode. Chris called me in June 1996 with the following question: how can you tag someone with the smallpox Vaca Nation? This was a tough question because, frankly, you can't tag anyone with the Vaca Nation. Since this was not the answer that Chris wanted, I suggested implanting a computer chip. Already done that, Chris replied. Since I couldn't come up with anything else off the top of my head, I said that I needed time to think about it. Chris said that he would call back tomorrow. And oh, by the way, it had to involve computers. Now, Chris Carter, of course, is the writer, whatever, producer of The X-Files. Now, keep listening, because you're going to hear them mention red balloons. So I spent the next several hours walking my dogs in a circle around a Little League baseball field, trying to come up with the least preposterous way. Let's scroll down here. To tag people with their smallpox Vaca Nations. The best that I could come up with was the following. Aliens, really smart aliens, devised a method whereby the Vaca scene virus could be injected into the arms of people in a precise, predetermined pattern, much like using a stamp device and ink to impress a barcode on a piece of paper. The barcode imparted by the injected virus, somehow still present after all these years, still present after all these years, cannot be seen with the naked eye, for the virus ink is much too small. However, the location of the virus can be visualized by using a very scientific technique with the tongue twister name of immunohistochemical staining. Understand the principle behind immunohistochemical staining is much easier than pronouncing it. Let's say that there are small scraps of paper on a football field between the 40 and 50 yard lines. If you want something sitting in the top row of the bleachers to see the paper, you're going to need to make the paper more visible. So you make a set of black clips that seek out and attach themselves to every piece of paper. The black clips are like antibodies. Antibodies that specifically recognize paper and then attach themselves to the paper. So wherever there's a black clip, there's also a piece of paper. The black clips, however, are still too small to be seen from the top of the stadium. So you make a second set of clips, blue clips, that seek out and attach themselves to the black clips. Does this all sound like nested reality to you? Things within things? The blue clips are antibodies that specifically recognize and stick to black clips. Before the blue clips attach themselves to the black clips, you tie a large red balloon to each blue chip. Now at this point, this next page is not available for preview. So I don't know what the next page says. But this page says it all. Page 209, which is a 1, a 1, and a 9, isn't it? So again, the red balloon appears. Now, what are they talking about here in this episode? What's this about? Well, the episode is called Herrenvolk. Let's scroll up here. Let me show you what this is all about. Unbelievable. Now, this was all about a smallpox eradication program. The episode premiered on October 4th, which has 88 days left in the year. Herrenvolk. Now, it goes on from there. Because, are you getting chills yet? This episode appeared in 1996. Let's read a little bit of this. Smallpox eradication program mentioned in Herrenvolk is real. In 1981, the W to the H to the O recommended destroying the few remaining stocks of the variola virus. 3 reprieves later, the new date for the destruction of the virus is June 30th, 1999. Destroying the last of the virus that had caused such misery throughout history seems like a no-brainer. Eliminating the virus would erase forever the fear that terrorists could use variola as a bio war weapon. Since children are no longer stickered against smallpox, the death rate from such an attack would be horrific. But some scientists think that destroying the last stocks of the virus is a mistake. That once the virus is gone forever, it's gone forever. The variola virus would be the first species on the planet ever to be deliberately destroyed. Some very prominent virologists are concerned because the variola virus can still teach us about how viruses are able to circumvent the immune system. You guys, this is all about gain of function. They want to keep it around so that they can continue to learn from it, look at different scenarios of how it can infect, how could it come back, and then all of a sudden these things begin to escape from labs and things. So apparently these are stored in Atlanta, Moscow. So this was the theme behind this episode with Scully in it, trying to find a way to figure out what happened with her smallpox potion that she got. And she actually identified a marker or a tracer within it. Now, what actually happens in the episode? Here's the episode here. Well, the episode opens with copper telephone lines. Remember Pennywise? Pennywise the Clown? Copper is a penny, right? Here's the episode here. Herrenvolk. And basically, it's about these V scenes that mark people. There's even a ventilator aspect to this because his mother is on a ventilator. Here's a screenshot from it here. There are bees in the episode and there are clones. Now, what is the episode about? Well, there's a telephone lineman and he's up on top of the pole next to the copper wires because all telephone wires are copper. They can look it up if you don't believe me. And he's stung by a bee. Now, what do I believe the bees represent? Well, it's a metaphor for the potion. It's a metaphor for the stickers. Because the bee stingers are hollow like a needle, aren't they? And they inject something. Now, after this lineman gets stung, he looks down and he sees a bunch of cloned boys standing around. There's like 6 of them. Now, the needle theme continues with this object in the episode called a stiletto heel. Let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. Here's some pictures of it. It's an alien stiletto. And this is one of the only things that can kill them. This is the enemy of choice for the alien that's stalking Mulder and Scully. And Mulder grabs the stiletto. Right? Here's the needle theme again, the stinger, the needle. And he stabs the alien in the neck with it. He thought he killed him, but he didn't. But he stabs him in the back of the neck. Now, there's even a woman that's introduced in this particular episode. And her name is Cova Rubius. Kind of sounds like COVID, doesn't it? Cova Rubius. She's introduced for the first time in the series in this particular episode. Here she is right here. It says here, directed by R.W. Goodwin, written by series creator Chris Carter, features guest appearances by Roy Tens, Brian Thompson, and introduced Laurie Holden as reoccurring character Marita Covid Rubius. Can't make this up. Now, Mulder is on the hunt. He's looking for his sister who's at this farm, and it's a clone of her when she was a child. It's obviously not her. But basically, all of these clones at this farm are parentless. They don't have any parents. And they're over there harvesting a shrub. A shrub for what? For its pollen. What is the root word for pollen? Apollyon. Now, later in the episode, just as we read earlier, Scully discovers that hidden in her smallpox sticker was a tag. What did the tag do? It cataloged, inventoried her, and it was all managed by the Social Security Administration. This is fiction, you guys. Fiction, so we're told. Now, this brings us to the last part of our show. And a particular movie that I just finished watching. Would not recommend this movie. Very scary. And it's about the bees too. The new Candyman movie. What is the Candyman movie about? It's about an artist looking for inspiration from an old, what they thought was a made-up story. The Candyman story. An urban legend. So, this artist goes to Cabrini Green, which is basically a project, a ghetto, where these urban legend murders took place. And there he is stung by a bee in the right hand. Well, it becomes infected and eventually spreads across his entire right side of his body. Does this ring any bells? The book of Revelation shall receive a mark on their right hand, but can also translate to right side or right side of your body. So the artist begins to lose his mind, and he begins being haunted by the Candyman. So I dug deeper into this name, Cabrini Green. And this is what I found. And this is the rest of the story of Cabrini Green and what it was named after. The woman that Cabrini Green was named after was this woman, Frances Xavier Cabrini. And you'll see it right down here. It says Cabrini Green right here. So I'm not making this up. Chicago's Cabrini Green, right? Now, what's so interesting about this woman? Well, there's a few things. She died of malaria while she was preparing Christmas candy for local children. Now, I'm going to spare you the images of what malaria looks like on the human skin. But suffice to say, it looks exactly like the skin infection that spreads all over Candyman's body in the movie. So basically they're showing a malaria-infested Candyman in the movie. Now, no one's really made this connection between this nun and the movie, but we found it. That's what I wanted to show you. And it's all links back into the red balloons. You'll see in a second here. So, the Candyman is really Mother Cabrini, which begs the question, what was in the candy that she was preparing on Christmas for the local children? She actually died on the winter solstice, 1917. Now, there are more connections because Mother Cabrini made it into sainthood. How? She made it into sainthood by healing a child from blindness. I guess when children were born back then, they put drops of silver nitrate in their eyes. But the solution that the child was given was too potent and it blinded the child. Well, apparently they're saying that she healed the child. The child then grew up to be this man, Peter Smith. Well, in the film, the Candyman, as his right side is taken over by this skin condition from the bee sting, his eye goes blind and turns gray. Many, many connections with this, you guys. Now, some more creepy stuff. I mean, look at this nun. This is creepy. This is her here. It looks like a superimposed face, doesn't it? Doesn't even look like a real face under there. But here's the creepy thing about this nun in the whole Cabrini meme. We're going to call it the Cabrini meme. Here they talk about the 1900s, how there were candy that they were rumored that was poisoned across the country. And the U.S. Bureau of Chemistry actually took action right around this time to test thousands of candy samples. They found traces of copper, cheap dyes, and syrups. Causes of death were hard to determine at the time, so the experts believe these candy death rumors were simply misattributed. And this is where the whole meme of, razor blades inside candy came out, which is, of course, was an element of the film, The Candyman, as well. Candyman would hand out candy with, razor blades in it and stuff. Look at these creepy children in Halloween costumes. I'll never put my child in a Halloween costume ever again after what we found with all this. What is this? Here they're celebrating the anniversary of Cabrini. This was like some kind of letter. Anniversary of the death of Mother Cabrini. Now understand, this woman her body was disassembled after she died, her head was removed and preserved in the chapel of the Congregation's International Mother House in Rome. Rome has this woman's head in 1933. This is creepy. Now, I didn't know this, but apparently, when people enter into sainthood, their bodies are disassembled and can be in different shrines all over the world. Split into pieces. Sounds a little bit like Osiris, doesn't it? Now, what does any of this have to do with how we started the show? Well, it's all happening again, isn't it? It's all happening again. The hive mind in Candyman. Now, at the end of the film, the artist discovers he's become one of an entire hive of black men that were killed by racial injustice. And so when Candyman is summoned, he goes on a retribution killing spree. And of course, he only kills white people. The film was set in 1977, 44 years ago. 77, 44. And at the end of the film, they explain that these killings happen in some kind of a time loop. So, remember the bee sting metaphor? A needle? What's happening right now in America? We're sitting on a tinderbox of racial divide, of course, being pushed by the media. I don't think America would naturally be or feel like that if they weren't being bombarded with it on television. But I'm starting to wonder what component this potion will play in all of this moving forward. The final match of the tinderbox to push things over the edge. Now understand that this Candyman film is basically, I guess what you'd call the kind of film that would reopen old wounds. Okay? Because if you simply reverse the colors in the movie, you know, the races, it would clearly be condemned as some kind of a hate film. But because it's given to us with the colors in the way that they are attributed, all of a sudden it's some great work. Complete and total hypocrisy. Because it clearly becomes the very hate that it condemns. And I'll leave you with this today. We all now know what it is, right? Pennywise and his red balloons. Well, look at the movie cover poster for Candyman. Say it. Wow. And that's what I wanted to show you guys today. Unbelievable. So hopefully that sheds some light on the 99 red balloons. 9/23 in a few more days. Again, I'm not making any predictions. I'm not saying anything's going to happen for sure. But I just laid out a body of work. And I guess we'll have to see, won't we? All right. Let's go into the chat here just for a little bit. Yes, they are calling up demons. That's exactly what they're doing. This is a ritual. You guys are all living in a ritual. Why Candyman? That's a good question. The bittersweet. Well, in the movie, Candyman gives out candy as gifts, right? But the candy that he's giving kills people. So I can imagine that would be a metaphor for exactly what we're experiencing right now. Giving away something for free that can probably hurt you. And that's all I can say about that. But that's the best metaphor that I could think of that's pretty obvious. All right. Yeah, everybody's talking about the girl. I guess they found her. You see, you got to read between the lines with this stuff. I don't think we'll end up doing a show on that. But basically what happened is this couple was traveling around in a van life, right? And this has become very popular on YouTube. Weird thing is most of these people that get these vans and travel around the country, on YouTube anyway, are choosing white vans. I mean, this is weird. What is the white van? We all know what the white van is. It's used to pick children up. This has been the meme since the 80s. So these people are part of a meme that they don't even realize. The white van meme. So, of course, the girl goes missing. And she's very juvenile looking, isn't she? Read between the lines with this. Yes, scripted. I agree. I mean, is the story even real? Or is it to bring fear back up? In this case, yeah, I think it was some kind of a sacrifice, Linus. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. They might have taken him out too. Why would they do something like this? Well, they would do it to fear you. In this case, be afraid of being outside the grid. Be afraid of being on your own. Be afraid of a van life. You guys, more and more people are RVing and getting out of these grids. And, you know, the establishment is doing everything they can to deter people from doing this. From drastically increasing the price to even park your car anywhere, park your RV anywhere. We're talking almost as much as it used to cost to get a hotel. The Motel 6s used to be $29, $39 a night, $49 a night. Well, to park your van somewhere it costs that much now. It's ridiculous. I remember when campsites were $10 and $15 a night, sometimes $5 a night. And they've gone up tremendously. So, what is this about? Well, people realize that you can go onto state land or federal land and you can stay as long as you keep moving around. And of course, they've got the park rangers running around, kicking people off, keeping track of how long they've been there, collecting their personal information. You don't hear a lot of that being talked about on YouTube, do you? But imagine van life. You got some supplies. You can pull up, be out in nature. But they don't want that happening. Mark my words. Eventually, they will do away with allowing people to hunt or to camp out long term on federal lands. Mark my words. What do you think the whole shutdown of the federal lands was all about? When they were shutting down jobs and businesses. It's because they didn't want people just getting in an RV and going onto federal land because they were broke, because they lost their job and they couldn't work. That's why they shut down these national parks. Are you starting to see what's going on here? We're being rounded up. We're being rounded up. Ellie asked a good question. How do the bees tie into Mother Cabrini? What a creepy story, huh? Sorry to hit you guys with a creepy story on a Monday. I don't know what the bees would have to do with her. Well, we know what the bees represent. That's the potion, right? It's the sticker. Okay? And everyone in the film who gets stung by a bee ends up getting killed, right? Let's look at Frances Cabrini here. What a creepy story. Now, there are pictures of her. I almost don't want to show you because, well, let's pull this up here. Okay, because this is just a very, very creepy mother. Now, we've all heard stories of what some of these people have done to children. I mean, look at this bizarre image of her. I mean, that is just, I don't know about you, but that mother doesn't look very friendly to me. Wow. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, here's another creepy one, is that it's not all fun and games and wine and roses with the Catholic Church and, you know, orphanages and stuff like that. We've seen and heard the stories in Canada and different places. It is not a good thing, okay? Well, look at this. So, I mean, I don't know. There's no record of anything going down with her. Let's look something up. Let's see if she did this. Let's see this. Whoa. Wait a minute. This can't be. What? I think we found a Vaca Nation connection here. No way. I'm glad you asked me that question about how she ties into the bees, because I think we found something. I think we found a connection between her and the Polio Vaca Nation, which would seal the deal, right? Okay, what is this? This says St. Francis Xavier Roman Catholic Church, modern medicine, impressions of life. Now, we had identified the connection between the polio and the Catholic Church a long time ago, but we had not looked at this woman, of course. Okay. Wow, they mentioned the T-Man here. Okay. This might just be a story on their site. I'm trying to see a connection between her and the polio, and it's not really giving us a connection there. I'll keep digging into that, and I'll get back to you guys on that, okay? But wow, wouldn't that be a trip? So, oh, someone said Beelzebub. Yeah, that's like the bee connection as well. That's probably the demon behind all this. You guys, these memes are basically demons, okay? That's what they are. Memes are demons, and it's an influence. It's an actual entity behind all of this, responsible to carry out the agenda of a particular act. In this case, we all know what the act is. We all know. All right. What other questions you guys have on here? Now, if you guys find a connection between this mother and polio, just put it in the comments so I can see it. For some reason, links I have to approve, so I'll just try to be cognizant of that and approve the links. If you put a link to something you found, I'll try to approve that. I'll go in and just make sure I've approved all the links if you find anything. Unbelievable. Lord of the Flies. Yes. Flies might have actually been bees. Uh-oh, Kathy says Cabrini College is 10 miles from her. I wouldn't go into that college to save my life. Okay. Yes, all glory to Abba, the Father. No problem, El. No problem. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to pop off of here. We don't have a show scheduled yet for tomorrow, but I'm sure we'll be on here. Maybe we'll cover some headlines. We're usually on every day, same exact time. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Oh, yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Polio is Apollyon. You're absolutely correct. I forgot to mention that. Very important. That was what it was named after. Apollyon. Okay. Take care, you guys. Much love.